contract. What's a contract? A soul contract, a contract that ties you to a particular person. There's a reason why you're surrounded with the people that are in your circle and who's meant to come into the circle and how you can honor the relationship. Have you ever felt as if some of the people that are in your circle you don't want in the circle and you're like, oh my God, why am I with this family? Like, who dropped me off here? Or perhaps there's a relationship that has been problematic for you and there's a contract, there's something for you to see and to learn in a relationship. People all bring a gift to the relationship. People all bring you a gift in life, even those relationships that we deem as adversarial. Perhaps there's someone as was a former friend or someone who's a coworker. You're just not quite getting connected to them in the right way, and there's a clash of energy. People come in our lives for a reason, and your soul knows what that is. And so there's always that question as a human. Am I in the right place? Am I around the right people? There's that questioning that we have. Are these my peeps, my tribe? And am I in the right place for my life's journey? Why am I here? Your soul holds all those answers. And I think of when we come into the planet and we are born to our families, and our families nurture us and they care for us in the best way they can. But there's a part of you that's on a mission. There's a contract that's wired in your soul. Have you ever wondered how many things in your life are there because they're supposed to be? That's how it's going? Is it predestined? Or are you truly creating everything? I get the sense that the contract is wired in your soul of the people and the experiences that you're going to have in this lifetime. And that you have some flexibility as to how you choose a storyline. Maybe you choose not to participate in a storyline that's supposed to teach you about maybe betrayal or disappointment. And you think, wow, I dodged that, only to end up in another storyline that has, well, a different story, but it still ends up the same. There's a betrayal, there's a disruption, there's something that will happen. How much of our life is pre-orchestrated by the divine? Seems some things we can't run from. People talk to me about relationships, and many will say, I was in this relationship and I got out. And then when I got into my next relationship, I thought it was totally different. It was the same. And I don't know how that happened. I was trying to avoid that. But if there's something your soul needs to learn, if there's something your soul needs to observe and be participatory in, then it must be in that story. And you may change the cast of characters in the play that is the play of your life. But you cannot run from what you're meant to learn. You cannot run from what you're meant to do here on this planet. That's all of you. Each one of you has a purpose in this world. And you all have opportunities to make adjustments in your life, to find your joy, your passion, your purpose, and to not be in fear and to be in joy and harmony. But we still have to be observant and participatory in things that come around us. And we need to acknowledge that things are happening. But the contract is there. How many of you feel that you have found yourself in a totally different path in your life? You look at the marker in time, the calendar, and you say, how did I get here? This is not where I intended to be. This isn't what I thought my life would be. And many of you may think you've missed opportunities. There really are no missed opportunities. It will come around again in another form. Sometimes the timing isn't the right thing for that opportunity. But when you ask yourself, who are you? Who have you come to be? That knowing buried inside is part of the journey of why you're here, to discover the higher purpose for your human experience, the higher purpose for the expression of your personality, the higher purpose for all the relationships that you've had in your life. Positive, not so positive, they all serve a purpose. And you are wired for your own story. You're a thread in the tapestry of life on this planet. And you're part of a storyline of this particular time in humanity that has significance. So those of you who feel that life has not been easy, that too is part of the story, is part of what you came to acknowledge and to work through, to override, overcome, and yet still be true to yourself and find your joy and your purpose and your passion. If anybody thought that life would have been totally different than it is, that would be me. And never in a million years would I have thought that this would have been my journey. There was not an inkling in my story that I recognized that would lead me to this particular role in life and all that comes with it. And yet, when I look at the nudges of my soul that kept putting me in front of different opportunities that were to be of service, to entertain, to connect to others, to lead others, they were plentiful. And in some of my worst moments where I felt I failed is where the universe used that fall to rise me to a different opportunity, almost seemingly on the opposite side of what I was doing, to introduce me to something new and different. But I realized it was slowly nudging me in the place and the direction that I was ultimately meant to be, to fulfill a destiny, a contract. For those of you who know my story, it's pretty unique. Those of you who don't know the story, it's a bizarre twist and turn in life that led me to have a conversation with a man in a computer store who forever changed my life. A man in a computer store who wasn't an ordinary man, although came across rather ordinary, until he began to express things about me that he couldn't possibly know. Then I was a little nervous. I thought, wow, a little nutty here, but okay. But there was a feeling, there was a prompting, there was a nudging, there was something that felt right in a bizarre situation that made me feel like I knew that I had to listen. And it was in listening to this odd gentleman that I recognized that there was something more to him than what appeared, although I didn't know anything as to what that could possibly be. It was weird, and I thought it was a one-time chance encounter, only for it to resurface the very next day in a timing that was impossible, but yet there he was. And I remember the conversation because you and I and many people on this planet, we have a feeling of some synchronicity. We recognize that something's happening here, even if we don't understand it. And even though I didn't understand what was happening, there was a feeling, almost a voice inside that said, just listen. Now, never before was I hearing a voice in my head, I can assure you, but there was this firm stance of energy that said, listen. And so he continued to talk to me and somehow earn my trust So I would further have conversations with him and get to know him and his family, his wife, and then have him explain things to me that seemed definitely beyond anything I had heard, outside my trained religious beliefs, my thought process as to who God was, my feelings of people being able to know or feel or see something around someone. I didn't know that was possible. That was never discussed in my house. And I sat in fascination of what he shared with me and wondering why he was even telling me all of this, right? It was interesting. And then one day I asked him, after I had had maybe a year's worth of time of listening to his stories and him sharing different things about philosophies and spirituality and seeing miracles happen before my very eyes of people's lives changed almost in an instant, and continuing to become more intrigued by that process and more intrigued by his ability to just know things and assist me in feeling confident in changes I was doing in my life at that time. And I say it had to have been like this off the cuff kind of question that I posed to him. And I said, well, I don't understand, like, what made you talk to me? And so many other people were sent to talk to you at that place, at that computer store. I don't understand. Why did you talk to me and give me the information so I could register you for a class when that wasn't even my job and you were not cooperating with anyone else? And I remember he paused and he had this very distant look in his face, almost like he was remembering it on so many levels, almost on so many dimensions. And he looked and he said, it's because none of them were who I was sent to see. And I took a step back and I was like, sent to see? What are you talking about? Because I'm thinking, well, here we go, down Crazy Town Road. What is he talking about? But he explained that there was a reason he was there, and it never was about the class. And by the way, he never ended up taking that web design class. Ultimately, it was just what he felt he needed to do to register. So he was acting in good faith and participation of what is necessary in the course of doing business, also that he could meet me, whom he had never met before. He had never seen me before. He just knew that someone in that computer store was there that he needed to meet. And it was this pull of energy. All of which still, at the time of his first explanation of this, is really seeming overwhelmingly bizarre to me. Never understanding that there was this divine plan that was unfolding, unbeknownst to me, that was carving out a future too far for me to see, that wasn't being shared with me because I had to jump through several storylines in my current life so that I could end up in a different storyline that would put me in the place that would open the doors for me to be here. And I don't just mean here with all of you on the radio, but here at a center in West Palm Beach, meeting different people, assisting them on their spiritual journeys and their quests and their manifestations and their ability to overcome some of their fears and insecurities and anxieties, and helping people find their way to God. I would have never thought that I would be sitting here. But as I come to know contracts and people's contracts and missions, we have a mission. Everyone has a reason for being here. And maybe some missions are a little more intricate, but everyone has a mission. And we're all here for a reason. And now, as I do what I do, I realized that everything in my life, even though I thought I was making choices of what I wanted to do or didn't want to do, the universe was going to do everything it could to nudge me along, to get me in the right place at the right time on a bizarre day in Parsippany, New Jersey, to meet a man that seemed even more bizarre than the day. And ultimately put me in a place that I could never have imagined. Everything is always nudging each one of you to put you on the highest path, the highest level, the best version of what the divine has for you. And yes, there are things that will happen on this divine path in your soul contract that will be uncomfortable. There will be things that don't seem as wonderful and magical as you would like them to be. There will be relationships that will hurt you and betray you. There'll be difficulties in family units. There'll be betrayal, perhaps. Perhaps you feel as if you're the odd man out in the family. Or perhaps you'll have a fabulous connection with your family, but your family as a whole will go through some difficulties. Maybe your life will be simple and everything will be falling into place just as the world would kind of orchestrate it. You have your high school sweetheart, you go to college together, you get married, you have a fabulous life, and then that's your contract, that's your journey, that's what this life was meant for you. Yet 2 doors down in your neighborhood, someone's life is tumultuous and difficult and challenging, and they no sooner seem to get up from one adversarial moment and difficulty, and they're hit with another one. Each person has lessons and experiences that are meant to mold them, to give them an opportunity to shed and surrender some of the resistance, and to be open to the guidance of the divine, the spirit in you. There is a spirit in you. You're not doing this alone. There's a person, and then there's the aspect of God that dwells in you. And the person, the personality, well, sometimes you don't connect in the way you could because you're caught up in whatever the world has thrown at you on a given day. But each one of you has this powerful, powerful ability to master anything that comes your way and to honor yourself inside. The soul knows the journey, who you are, and who you've come to be. It's already written in the destiny. And it's up to you how easy or how difficult it's going to be. And collectively, as a unit, as a world, we are all here because we chose to go through a transformational time in history that is bringing up a lot of old wounds and triggers and some things that have to be righted once and for all. And you are a part of that. In your own family nucleus, you represent. You're part of the collective. And it's up to you to raise your own consciousness and to choose to honor the God in you.